Hey you guys, and welcome back to the F&T vlog. For this vlog, I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite shows, Scrubs, and its main character, JD, about the many times he screwed up. Now, I've been a fan of Scrubs since, 2010, I think. This was after it got canceled. And, it's literally one of the most lighthearted, fun shows, especially during these dark times. So I decided to, make a list about JD, and I noticed how many times he screwed up from season 1 to season 9. Well, not season 9 because we really saw him, but this is a list I made to note that sometimes JD is an idiot. Even though he's a good, kind-hearted person, he can be an idiot. Number 10, JD blabs Carla's feelings to Turk behind her back. Now, do y'all remember in season 2, episode 4? JD was trying, get to know Carla more, but, Carla don't trust him. She knows how JD is. He has a big mouth. She can't trust him. He basically aggravated her the entire episode until she finally opened up to him. And he thought she was crazy because, of how much, how insecure she really was. That's pretty much normal considering, she doesn't feel beautiful, she doesn't feel like she's good enough, even though she is. So, when she finally revealed that, JD didn't see it that way, even though he ended up running to Turk and revealing all of that. Turk then told on the boy in the lunchroom, especially the fact, Carla, she was kind of insecure about, Turk and his coworker Bonnie, who were literally hated each other. But the body language kind of, made her insecure. So it hurt Carla's feelings because she trusted him with that info and he went behind her back and told. And that's kind of why she was scared to reveal stuff about her, personality, because he'll see her as the crazy person. But, luckily she was able to forgive him because she realized, that's somebody she can talk to. That's like her BFF. Like, she can talk about that kind of crap to him and he'll listen because that's what a good friend he really is. For number 9, JD causes his med student to quit. So this was in season 1, episode 17. And JD had a med student he was teaching and basically mentoring. And the med student, Josh, he reminded me so much of JD. He was terrible. He did not know what he was doing. And JD literally could not take it. JD just had a hard time to the point where he kind of gave up on him. So when Josh went to his house, to try to talk to him, JD flat out says, "I don't think you're ready to be a doctor." Now he shouldn't have did that. And this caused, Josh to quit. And this probably one of my favorite things is Laverne, told him that, he made that, Josh may have been the most incompetent doctor to work with, but JD is pretty much the same way. He ain't no better. He's so much like JD. But, luckily JD, had him come back and, decided to teach him like he should have been taught. Number 8, JD dates TCW, Tasty Coma wife. Now, do y'all remember in season 2, in episode 18, I think? All right, now, TCW was Tasty Coma wife, aka Jamie. She was the widow that, lost her husband. He was in a bad accident and he was left in a coma for, I think, a year or 2. And she ain't never dated anybody until she met JD. Now, this boy decided to go take her out on a date, knowing that her husband's, still in a coma. The husband basically haunted him, basically trying to tell him, "Don't date my wife, especially when I'm not dead yet." So he does the right thing, even though he got shamed for it, because, he should have been. He decides not to take that chance until Jamie's fully ready to move on. Even though she claims she is, she's not. And she's still, grieving. Well, this dummy decides to sleep with her on the day of the husband's funeral. Now that's just dead wrong. He talking about she going to hell. He going to hell with her. You can't do that. Didn't I tell y'all JD was crazy? That was an idiot. That's a real idiot right there. Now he really screwed up. And what's worse, he ghosted her, I think. I think he didn't call her back, so basically he ghosted her. So that tells you how horrible JD can be sometimes. He ain't had no right dating her, and he ain't had no right ghosting her like that. Especially even though she liked drama. He wanted a way out, but he chose her. He chose the crazy person. Number 7, JD hurts Carla's feelings. Now early on in season 1, Carla and JD were extremely close. They were like besties. They hung out. They went to these museums and all that. Well, and she's always gonna have his back, especially when Dr. Cox chews him out. Well, there's one particular day, Dr. Cox kind of went off on JD and Carla defended him. And, Dr. Cox is secretly scared of Carla and she ate him up. Well, Dr. Cox can't help but, try to make fun of JD calling, saying, oh, your mommy chewed me out. That's what, basically he can't take care of himself and Carla's the mommy. So he basically snapped on her when he was trying to, do a, help a patient. And he had no right to do that because, she was just only trying to help. But he went off on her. And then, they kind of squashed it until, that bus scene when she confronted him and basically called him out for thinking that, he's better than her. He often does think he's better than everyone, especially her, someone who's been there longer than he has. And, he finally admitted that, okay, he can be an idiot. He can just be a know-it-all, even though he doesn't know anything. But luckily they were able to, to be friends again. Number 6, JD tries to sleep with Kylie and Molly. This was season 4, episode 19. Now, I don't know what he thought was going to happen with this episode, but he really screwed up big time. And I blame Turk for this too because he shouldn't have listened to Turk. Now, he was dating Kylie, the black girl. And, he'd been trying to sleep with her for the past couple of episodes. It didn't work out. And then, Molly, the other girl he wanted to sleep with after they made out, he wanted to hook up with her, but she left. Well, she came back. And Turk basically tried to get him to, hook up with Molly since Kylie wasn't going to sleep with him. I don't know why he thought that was a good idea. Because I'm going to tell you now, that was a bad idea the second it came out of Turk's mouth. So he hangs out with, Molly that night. And he basically fantasizes about hooking up with her that night. But he couldn't bring himself to do it because he knew, he still cared about Kylie. So he decides to, leave and go be with Kylie. Kylie's finally ready to have sex with him. This big dummy decides to reveal that he was out with another girl and screwed everything up. Kylie was mad and they had a big fight and ended things. That was the big screw up. But, that clearly showed how dumb he really was. Number 5, JD sleeps with Jordan. Season 1, episode 6. Now this was you can't technically fault him, but this was really dumb of him. Now at the time, Dr. Cox and Jordan weren't technically together. They were off and on half the time. So this was after, Dr. Cox was suspended. So he had to take care of Jordan, as a patient. And he stood up to her. And she got turned on by that to the point where she made him drop his pants and they banged in her patient room. And the second that came out, here come Dr. Cox. And he's like, oh, I guess you met my wife. His mind was blown. He didn't realize that was that man's wife. Everybody else knew, but he didn't. Now, you think he would have known that. Like, everybody knew except for him. That says something. Jada don't be paying attention. Jordan later revealed that they slept together and he was mad, but he couldn't hate JD because he technically did not know. So he kind of let it go because, he's already being tortured enough and he's going to torture him for the rest of his life. So that's torture enough. So he kind of let it go and still torture him. Number 4, JD sleeps with Nina Broderick. Now, this was the malpractice episode. She was a malpractice lawyer that was suing people. So do y'all remember the dude that was aggravating Turk? The dude he stayed in the hospital. He always claimed he was sick, even though he wasn't. He was basically, a hypochondriac, I think. Well, Nina gave her number and he sued Turk. And JD was hooking up with her. And he already had knew the guy sue him. And literally, I would have been mad about this, but for some reason, Turk, they had some kind of rule, but it still wasn't okay. It wasn't right. Poor Turk, I think his spirits were just, ripped to pieces, especially when he caught, Nina and him together. Luckily, Jordan came in to save the day and, they ended it. And number 3, JD breaks up with Kim during her labor. Now, this probably wasn't the best time to break up with someone, especially if she's having your baby. JD, he couldn't say I love you to her. And she had been asking that question, why don't you say you love me? I'm having your kid. Well, he went ahead and just, talked about how he felt. Basically said, I don't love you. He could have did this after or before the labor. Paul Kim was already enough pain as it was. It didn't make it any better the fact that he broke up with her. Right now, right then and there having this baby. It was the worst possible thing he could have done, especially after what she did to him. I can see him not saying he didn't love her anymore, especially when she lied and said she miscarried even though she didn't. So that was kind of a good reason, but it wasn't the best time. I feel like he could have did that after. Number 2, JD and Carla kiss. Now I tell you, JD be screwing up, but Carla didn't make it any better. But I think I followed him more because he was already screwing up their relationship anyway. Now, Carla and Turk, they were having a little marriage problems, JD basically didn't help, Turk nor Carla. He basically interfered half the time, it made it kind of hard for them to, try to work things out. He took Carla out for drinks, to try, help loosen her up. They got so drunk they kissed. Luckily, it didn't get any farther than that, but, JD, he's not the brightest bulb on the planet. Well, they try to pretend like it never happened and that they can be friends until Carla decided to, to reveal that they kissed. And Turk was mad. Now, he claimed he wasn't mad, but throughout that episode, he just couldn't help himself and he blew up. And he was trying to figure out who to blame. JD thought it was better if Carla took the blame. That was messed up. He shouldn't have let that girl take the blame because it was more of his fault because he didn't make it any better. He screwed up twice with Turk and her. So he was more of the problem than she was. He decided that she shouldn't have took that hit. It should have been me. And he did a nice thing by moving out so he can give, Carla and Turk, some time, to focus on their marriage. He did the right thing about that. But he still calls those two things. Now, number 1, I think we all know this because this was probably memorable. And he was dirty for this. Number 1, JD breaks up with Elliot. This man pined over this girl for the whole season. See, this was season 3, episode 21. This was I think Turk and Carla's rehearsal dinner. This man basically told Elliot to break up with Sean and be with him. Well, she did exactly that. They were just, you could tell they were so happy. And then this fool said he don't love her no more. He don't want her. I never want to slap somebody so hard. I really want to slap that man through the TV. He was wrong. The writers were wrong for that. They shouldn't did them like that. Elliot did not deserve that. Yes, she can be a pain, but she threw away her relationship and her life for this man, only for him to break her heart once again. And Elliot, she couldn't let that go. And it was to the point where she realized that she had no more romantic feelings for JD after he did that. He really, really crushed her. Y'all remember that rehearsal dinner? JD deserved that. He deserved to have his behind kicked. She did the right thing. I'm not gonna lie, I was scared. I was scared for him. Even Laverne was. Elliot can be scary. She's super strong, but he deserved that. Well, that's it for this week's vlog. I decided to talk about this one because I've been watching Scrubs these last couple of days. It's been one of my favorite shows, and it's nice to reminisce and just be nostalgic over such an amazing show. Oh, and if you're probably wondering why I didn't put his screw up with Ben, you can't really fault him for that. That wasn't technically his fault. Dr. Cox should not have put him in Ben's care. So that way he could, he already had other patients. He was already swamped. So I followed Dr. Cox for that. He knew better. But that's why I didn't decide to put that in the list because it wasn't really his fault. But I hope you like this video. If you love Scrubs, watch it. I think it's on Hulu and Netflix. It's such a beautiful show. You'll love it, I promise. So thanks for watching and stay safe.